There's a book that once stood alongside the Bible, quoted in Scripture, revered by early believers, and then erased. Not because it was lost, but because it was banned. It tells of angels falling from heaven, giants roaming the earth, and a war between the divine and the corrupted. This is the Book of Enoch, and whatever it said, someone didn't want us to read it. The Book of Enoch is one of the most mysterious and controversial texts in religious history. Believed to have been written between 300 and 200 BCE, it predates much of what we know as the Bible. And yet, it was once widely accepted among early Jewish and Christian communities. In fact, it was so influential that the Book of Jude in the New Testament directly quotes from Enoch, almost word for word. That's not speculation, that's canon. Early followers of Christianity didn't see this book as heresy. They saw it as revelation, sacred, essential. And in Ethiopia, it still is. To this day, the Ethiopian Orthodox Church includes the Book of Enoch as part of its official Bible, which raises the question, why did the Western Church erase it? Why did it disappear from Roman Christian tradition? Many believe the answer is simple. The contents of this book didn't fit. It challenged the official story of creation. It presented angels not as holy protectors, but as rule breakers. It introduced beings and events so strange, they bordered on mythology, or worse, heresy. For a church trying to build a clear, clean narrative, Enoch was a problem. So they buried it. But now that it's resurfaced, we have to ask, what was in this book that made it so dangerous? The Book of Enoch doesn't just hint at strange ideas, it dives headfirst into them. The most well-known section is called the Book of the Watchers. And this is where things get wild. It begins with a group of 200 angels, known as the Watchers, who were sent to Earth to watch over humanity. They weren't supposed to interfere, just observe. But they did interfere, in the worst possible way. These Watchers became obsessed with human women. They took them as wives. They broke divine law, and from these forbidden unions came something unnatural. The Nephilim, massive, violent giants. Half angel, half human, creatures of chaos that began corrupting the world around them. But it didn't stop there. The Watchers also shared forbidden knowledge, things humanity was never meant to know. They taught us how to forge weapons, how to make war, how to manipulate beauty with makeup, how to read the stars and unlock astrology, how to summon spirits. According to the Book of Enoch, this knowledge advanced civilization, but at a cost. It led to pride, greed, bloodshed. The earth was overwhelmed with violence and humanity began to spiral. So God responded. The archangel Uriel was sent to warn Noah of a great flood. The leader of the Watchers, Azazel, was bound in chains and cast into darkness, where he would remain until the day of judgment. Enoch, the book's namesake, was taken on a journey through the heavens. He witnessed a layered universe, multiple levels of heaven above, the earth below, and places of punishment for spirits beneath that. This wasn't just spiritual poetry, it was a blueprint. The Book of Enoch outlines a cosmos that's far more complex than what's found in most of the modern Bible. Multiple heavens, divine rebellions, ancient laws, otherworldly dimensions. And for early church leaders trying to simplify doctrine, that complexity was a problem. And that's where the real problem began. Because the Book of Enoch didn't just offer strange ideas, it offered dangerous ones. It rewrote the origin of evil. It shifted the blame. In Genesis, it's Adam and Eve who disobey. But in Enoch, it's angels. These beings, once seen as divine messengers, are now portrayed as lawbreakers. They corrupt earth. They teach war. They pass on knowledge that leads to mankind's destruction. And that flips everything. Suddenly, evil isn't something that comes from inside humanity. It's something that was introduced from above, from beings we were supposed to trust. That made the early church nervous. The Book of Enoch paints a universe filled with complexity, layered heavens, cosmic judges, hybrid creatures, and divine rebellions. It's not a neat story. It's messy, uncomfortable, uncontrolled. And for religious leaders trying to unify believers under one clean doctrine, Enoch was a threat. It challenged the simplicity of the Genesis story. It blurred the line between angel and demon, and it opened the door to interpretations that were unpredictable. So, during the formation of the Christian canon in the 4th century, Enoch was left out. Not because it wasn't known, not because it wasn't read, but because it was too much, too wild, too mystical, too hard to control. And over time, the Book of Enoch disappeared from the Western world, almost as if it had never existed at all. But like many things buried, the Book of Enoch didn't stay lost forever. While it vanished from Europe and the Western Church, it remained quietly preserved on another continent. In Ethiopia, Enoch was never banned, never erased. It survived, protected for over 1,000 years in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, where it's still considered scripture today. It wasn't until the late 18th century that Western scholars stumbled upon a complete copy, written in Ge'ez, the ancient liturgical language of Ethiopia. This single manuscript reignited interest in a book the West had all but forgotten. Then came 1947. Hidden deep in the caves of Qumran near the Dead Sea, a Bedouin shepherd uncovered clay jars filled with scrolls. Ancient manuscripts untouched for nearly 2,000 years. Among them, fragments of the Book of Enoch. This discovery was more than historic, it was confirmation. The Book of Enoch had once circulated among early Jewish sects. It wasn't fringe, it wasn't obscure. It was part of the spiritual conversation that shaped what would eventually become Judaism and Christianity. So the question becomes, why now? Why, after so many centuries, has the Book of Enoch returned to the conversation? Some say it's because humanity is finally ready to question old truths. Others believe the book holds insights not just spiritual, but technological. Its descriptions of flying beings, divine weapons, and heavenly structures have led some researchers to ask, were the Watchers really angels? Or were they something else? Ancient astronaut theorists argue that the Book of Enoch may be one of the earliest records of extraterrestrial contact, encoded in religious language passed down for generations. Others see it as a cautionary tale about forbidden knowledge, power without wisdom, and what happens when we're given too much, too fast. Whether you view it as history, myth, or something in between, one thing is clear. The Book of Enoch was never forgotten by accident, and its return feels anything but random. So what do we make of the Book of Enoch? A forbidden gospel? A piece of lost history? Or a warning, buried for reasons we're only just beginning to understand? Maybe it was banned to protect doctrine. Maybe it was silenced to protect power. Or maybe it told too much of the truth. What we do know is this. When something is erased this carefully, someone didn't want us to ask questions. But now, we are. And Enoch is only the beginning. Because hidden in the deserts of Israel, another set of ancient documents was uncovered. Older than the New Testament. More controversial than most people realize. They challenge everything we thought we knew about early religion, prophecy, and the origins of sacred texts. Next time, we dive into the Dead Sea Scrolls and what they reveal about humanity, belief, and the stories we've been told. Subscribe to unlock the next chapter of the Forbidden Knowledge series, because some books weren't lost by chance. They were hidden on purpose.